Hello again. I was asked yesterday, not for the first time, why I keep talking about black people and black history. This is a perfectly reasonable question to ask, and I can readily believe that it might appear to some that I have a bee in my bonnet on this particular subject. The problem is, though, I'm unable to avoid talking about it because it has become enormously intrusive in my day-to-day life. As many viewers will know, I write books. Now, like most people, if I want to check a fact quickly, I often rely on Google and Wikipedia. I don't give those as reference in books, it's usually just to give me a rough idea of something. I've got enough books here that I can check facts accurately, but I do, of course, I use the internet, to find stuff out like everybody else. Like most people, if a topic comes up and I'm on my laptop, I'll Google it. For many young people, and I mean those at school, college and university, the internet is often the only way that they find information. I sometimes suggest books to them, and I'll say, here, perhaps you've heard of this, it's a book, and I'll show it to a young person. The idea is absurd. They wouldn't dream of getting information any other way than the internet, usually accessed through their mobile telephones. I mean, this is tragic, but true. Right, here's the problem. I'm now going to invite viewers to conduct a little experiment. Pause this video and then open a new tab and Google American inventors, and then click on the images. What's wrong with this picture, children? Why, yes, that's right. All the inventors seem to be black. Imagine now that a school pupil has been given a homework assignment to do some research on famous American inventors. Do you think you might come away with the impression that most American inventors were black? You see, it's not so much that I'm obsessed with black people as that they're being constantly thrust into my attention. Another problem I have with this is that when, as in the case of the American inventors, it's pushed right in my face, I find that most of what is presented is simply wrong. In other words, our hypothetical child undertaking a school assignment will be given a pack of fairy tales in answer to his inquiry and his internet search. I mean, I concede this is quite a serious allegation, so let's look at one of the supposed American inventors who appears in our search. This is Alexander Miles, of whom it is claimed he invented the safety doors for elevators, which prevent people from plunging down unguarded lift shafts. In 1887, Alexander Miles was granted US patent 371207 for a mechanism relating to arrangements for effecting simultaneous opening or closing of cage and landing doors of elevators. On the strength of this, a device which was never actually built, certainly never used anywhere in an elevator, this barber is credited as the man who made the safe use of elevators possible, thus paving the way for skyscrapers to be built. None of it's true, of course. Miles, a barber and sometimes labourer, was just one of a number of people coming up with ideas for automatic elevator doors at the end of the 19th century. None of the schemes suggested were practical. It wasn't until the 20th century that technology really worked properly for this. it wasn't, when it did come, it wasn't connected at all with any of the weird ideas that people like Miles had for safe automatic elevator doors. The other thing is that Miles wasn't even the first. He was just one in a long stream of people coming up with handy ideas to make elevators safer. I mean, here's a few of them. George Ackerman, automatic elevator gate, US patent number 236137, 1881. Benjamin D. Vanderson, automatic gate for elevators, US patent 258827, 1882. Cyrus W. Baldwin, device for operating elevator doors, US patent 306049, 1884. John Meissner, automatic elevator gate, US patent 319292, 1885. These are just a few of the safety doors for elevators which predate Alexander Miles. Like his, they proved impractical. In other words, not only are black people being brandished in our faces when we make a simple Google search, the information provided about them is usually misleading or, as in this case, completely false. Here's another instance of how black people seem to pop up disproportionately to their numbers, which, by the way, are just 3% for the British population and 13% in the United States. The number of advertisements, either on television or internet, which feature black people is simply astonishing, especially as so many of them appear to be in cross-cultural relationships. Here's another simple experiment to conduct on the internet. Try Googling happy white woman and see what comes up in the images. There's something really weird happening now with the internet, and I'm curious to know what's causing it. You'll notice that none of those white women seem to be happy with a Sikh or a Chinese person. Only a black man can make her happy, which of course plays to a particular stereotype. I cannot end without mentioning something which has a bearing on this most primitive and atavistic stereotype of the black man having sex with a white woman, and that is the fact that black people seem to delight in propagating it. 3 times in the last week, black people have commented on this channel suggesting that my wife might be doing it with a black man. The latest was somebody commenting on the video I made about the Roman Emperor Septimus Severus. A chap using the name Toffeeman23, presumably in reference to the colour of his skin, told me that black people are bigger and stronger than white people, and went on to say of me that either he is bothered that he isn't one of us, or his wife left him for one, his daughter got impregnated by one, or his grandchild has a black partner and pretends they are a driller bigging up Stormzy. This reminds me strongly of the sort of thing which schoolboys used to say to each other, "Oh, your mum does it with black men." In the present instance, Toffeeman23 goes a step further by suggesting that my wife, daughter and granddaughter are all doing it with black men. I'm bound to say that Toffeeman23 has provided the family with much innocent amusement over the last day or two, for which I'm grateful. I need hardly add that only black people have ever felt it necessary or appropriate to start talking about my wife and daughter's sex lives when I'm discussing Roman emperors. The internet in the form of Google and YouTube is turning into a tool for advancing a particular agenda, which is worrying. I'm well aware that there are other search engines besides Google and other video platforms apart from YouTube, but the fact is that over 85% of searches are now made via Google, and it's what almost every student and school child in Britain and America uses to find information. When that information is being slanted in this particular way, it might be time for us to start asking a few questions.